Good morning, everyone. Give me a moment to get everything situated. And my iPad pulled up over here where I intend to monitor the chat here for the stream. Make sure I've got the volume turned down on everything. And it is that brought you to the stream today. And also what your interest in the vintage lighter hobby is. Okay, here we go. Got a few project lighters out here in front of us that we will be talking about and maybe tinkering with while we're on the video today. This one's the one that we polished up a couple weeks ago. And I don't know that I'm done with it, but it also has taken a lot of polishing, and I don't know that it's ever going to get perfect. So I'm fairly happy with it the way it is. But like I said, I'm not finished. I need to go grab a couple things. Hopefully a few of you will join in. Like I said, say hello, let me know where you're from. If you got questions about vintage lighters or Petrol lighter repair, if you want to complain about using butane lighters, that's fair game as well. I have a Blue Moon non-alcoholic Belgian white in place of the decaf coffee that you guys are used to seeing me drink on here. And until a couple of months ago, I'd only ever tried one non-alcoholic beer. I think that was an O'Doul's, and it wasn't worth my time or effort. But in the last couple of months, I've had a few, including several of these non-alcoholic Blue Moon, and it's really good. I've had a couple others, but they're drawing a blank now as to what they were. But for those of you who are fans of a good Hefeweizen, just goes to show you that you can find one in a non-alcoholic version. A good one at that. Let me get the chat set here also on the messages. Okay. Should be good. Like I said, feel free to say hello. I'm still gathering up a few things, so I'll be back and forth here for a few minutes. We've got some lighters that are still fueled up, maybe. Some that we have done videos on, this Oklahoma State lighter. Didn't figure that one, well, no, it is still holding fuel. It's kind of a slack snuffer, so I don't think we fueled up any of those Zippos. We haven't dug into this Marathon lighter yet either, so that may be my major project for today. Get some videos recorded, including hopefully getting this one working. And it definitely looks like that file wheel is going to need some work. Cleaning it out and maybe actually trying to do some refurbishing or repair on there. Hopefully that's just Flint that will come off of that wheel and we can clean it up. But you can see where Really looks like there's buildup of rust and degraded flint and who knows what else. It's a marathon lighter though. The Golden Goalie. Hello, glad to have you with us today. It's 2 inches too small for a guy's. Huh. Well, I guess it depends on what you're talking about, Goalie. For a guy's lighter, I don't think so. We've talked about it before. A lot of people call Zippo Slims lady lighters, but I think they're perfectly suited for men. They're great for, say, a watch pocket of your jeans, vest pocket, chest pocket in a vest, things like that. I really like this lighter. It's not in the greatest condition, but not terrible either. It's really still got a good deal of its paint. It's just got some scratches across the text and graphic. This is a local company, or at least it used to be. I'm not sure if Globe Life is still in business or not. You've probably seen a million of these advertisement cards, those little postcards that fall out of magazines and stuff with Globe Life on them your whole life, or at least back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. I don't know, I don't have any magazines around the house or flyers, those kind of things, but Globe Life was a big insurance company, and I talked a little bit about that in the video where we brought all this stuff home, but I look forward to making a more in-depth video on that lighter. Apparently we don't have any of our regulars with us yet, at least none have said hello. So I'd be glad to hear from you if you are here, any of you, regular or not. Like I mentioned before, I think I'm going to have to get a new phone. Somebody was trying to call me, which cut off the stream. So I apologize. But my phone is not supposed to allow those calls through. Hello, Ani Rude. Glad to have you with us. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Yeah, these are Slims. Got 3 Slims here. I sold the Cobra Head Slim on Friday night or Saturday morning. Have to look at this. That looks like 2 slash marks on each side, so I think that's going to be about 79. This one has 2 and 1, I think. So I think that would make it around 1980 or so. Somebody will know those for sure. Hello, Olarp. Glad to have you with us today, sir. Glad to see your lighter posts recently. A few there that I hadn't seen. I was also glad to see your lighter cabinet. Saw a few there in your cabinet that I don't think we've seen yet in individual posts. Anyway, this one is, I think this is what you would call a commemorative solid brass. They started doing that in 82, I believe. This one is 1990. So those bottom stamps look a little bit different on those commemorative solid brass lighters. I don't think they make those anymore, but I don't really know. This one, we cleaned it up on the outside. It's got some scuff, scratches. This one is a full size. And I think also maybe late 1980s, could be early 1990s. I'm not for sure. I haven't looked that up yet. VI. And I'm not going to open that just yet, especially with that freshly poured beer sitting there because I don't want Flint dust flying all over the place. Do you have a particular interest in Slims? Ani Rude? I love the Slims. There are plenty of people that just collect Slims. Really good lighters. Struck up these other two and showed you that they at least still had enough fuel. I think that one's waning pretty quick. Be burning the wick. And obviously this lighter still needs some work, which we haven't done anything with it since that video that was published last week. It's got a little bit more fuel in it, but the Ronson Whirlwind Imperial that we fueled up around that same time, it's not lighting at all. So I don't know if that bottom just doesn't seal off as well as it should. It got dinged. Maybe I need to kind of straighten that out. Anyway, I didn't use it much, so it appears as though the fuel has evaporated out. That reminds me, I need to go find that Zorro Cygnus, bring it out. Today is the 12th, and that was fueled on the 7th of March, I believe, or April. Well, I don't know what I did with it now. I'll find it hopefully at some point here today. I've got things stacked up. I was so busy. I recorded all those videos on Monday that got published last week, and then I was not here the rest of the week. Busy with the grandkids, 2 of them anyway, and then it was a really busy weekend with Mother's Day, so I've got stuff stacked up here, and I don't know where half of what I normally would want here with me is. So I need to find that, hopefully. I definitely need to make a progress video on that Zorro Z666. Or Zorro Cygnus, whatever you want to call it. Had a big win from the Thunder yesterday. Cool to see them finally get that game back on the road. Get home court advantage back. It's a Thunder fan. It's kind of, we had a lot of success first time around with that group of stars. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins, Steven Adams. We had Carmelo Anthony and Paul George here. Of course, Westbrook ended up being the anchor of all that. KD defected and went to Golden State at one point, and then they ended up just having, once Westbrook and Paul George and that whole thing didn't work out, They just had to rebuild, so they traded Westbrook. So it's kind of cool to compete against him in this series, but it's also been difficult to see them have so much success against us. But to get that one back yesterday, I think such a young team like the Thunder are, I think they'll be all right. I think at this point their youth is on their side, but the playoff experience of Denver has definitely been on their side throughout most of this series. But I think the Thunder's youth is going to win out here in the end. We'll see what it'll do as far as you get 2 more rounds. It's just the second round. But we expect the championship here in Oklahoma City. But so far we've came close with that other group. We'll see. We'll see what comes. Hello, Ozera. Glad to have you with us. Says, hey, do you have any knowledge on a 1950 Ronson Powell K-slider? Well, I believe a Ronson Powell is in our intro, the channel intro to our full-length videos. I don't remember all the details. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's got a Ronson standard type mechanism, the regular fitment, and let me get a couple things out of my hand and I'll pull one up. Surely, I think around the time when that video, that PAL that's in our intro, when I own that should be in our archives, I believe. Let me get over here to the website. Hello, Professor. Excuse me, glad to have you with us. Osiris says, yep, I've been trying to find a fuel screw. Trying to think. Yeah, fuel screw on that one's going to be maybe a little more difficult. I'm trying to remember, I had a mechanism. I think I sold it. I'd have to look through what I have in there. I may have some old Ronson parts. I can definitely take a look. So that is definitely the one that you're talking about, though. Let's see. Archived eBay listings. These are just in here in order of how I sold lighters. This was starting in about the fall of 2020. And of course, they'll be in each one under reverse order of how they were sold. There's a Cadet, a Durium, a Leather Standard, a Gem, Sport Junior. There we go. Ronson Powell. Is that what we're talking about here, Ozera? So you said you're needing a fuel screw. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to help you there with the fuel screw part. You said Flint wheel. That will just depend on, I may have something there. I'll have to take a look. let me screen capture this, so I'll hopefully remember. And contact me over on the website or the Facebook group. Send me a message on Messenger if I don't get back with you, or check back. Trying to do a live stream every week, but it's kind of difficult sometimes. I've got other priorities that vintage lighters are pretty important to me, but my family is more important. So all right, yeah, so just like I said, I've got a box of parts in there, that some that were a box or two that I've accumulated over time. Then there's another couple boxes that our buddy Friedrich Dill sent. So I'll take a look. I definitely don't think I can help you with the fuel screw, but as far as the Flint wheel, so what is you got any details about the lighter you found? Where did you find it here in Oklahoma City? And where are you from, Ozera? From Oklahoma? But yeah, I tried to do live stream, but I think the last time I was on here, I said I'll try to do it Monday, and if I can't do it Monday, Tuesday, and then if not, then Friday. And last week it just didn't work out that way. I was already in the process recording videos, had decided not to do the live stream that day. I was going to do it Tuesday, but then I found out partially through the day that I was going to be needed on Tuesday, and then I was busy the rest of the week. Then it was Mother's Day, and so we had a really good weekend. There's a lot to do here in Oklahoma City. So you still live here, Ozera? We go to the farmer's market pretty much every Saturday, which we did this past Saturday as well. And then the two grandkids that I watch most of the time, they came over yesterday morning while their mother went and had a little Mother's Day get together with one of her oldest and best friends. So yeah, it was a good weekend. Had dinner, all of us again, then had dinner with my mother last night. Ozera says, I actually got my lighter from my grandpa, although he never smoked. We found it in his stuff. He had a place out in McLeod. I think that's where it came from. Cool, yeah, I've been to McLeod. I know where that's at for sure. Out east of Oklahoma City. I actually grew up in eastern Oklahoma County, in Oklahoma City limits, but on the very southeastern outskirts, southeast of Midwest City, just this side of Choctaw. So yeah, I mean, I grew up in the vicinity of McLeod. Hello, Viljami. Glad to have you with us. Glad to have you comment. I think that was last week when you commented on that video of the Cobra Head Zippo. Actually sold it on Friday or Saturday. Had gotten a few offers on it since I loaded it, or listed it. But none that I was willing to accept. Had gotten I think it was 3 offers. One for about 45, another one for like $30, and then a couple days before it sold, I got an offer for 70, and then I think it was Friday night, somebody went ahead and paid full price for it. I'm always willing to accept offers. With one like that, though, I'm not going to jump on it real quick because I don't know exactly what the value is. I hope that the buyer likes it. I hope everything's cool with it. It is what it is. We fired it up right here on the channel, so Trimmed the wick. That was the only thing that we really did with it. I don't think we had to. I think the Flint tube was clear. So yeah, cool to own a lighter like that, even if it was only for a week or two. Yeah, hello Bill Jamie, glad to have you with us as always. So you still live in McLeod, Ozera? Got things falling off the table over here. Well, hopefully some of the rest of our pals will join us. Glad to have new folks like Ozera with us, and Ani Rude and the Golden Goalie. I'm not sure if the Golden Goalie was trying to pull one over on me there at the beginning, or with that first comment. But anyway, I'm just going to assume they were talking about 2-inch lighters. Did any of you see the Book of Matches last week, and what did you think about the matches? I mentioned in that video that I was introduced to those sort of matchbooks through a website. Actually, I think it was first the Vintage Lighters and Matches group, which has got to be the fastest growing group, lighter group on Facebook. Our group has grown pretty good over the last couple of years, but our page has been there, or group has been there for a long time. It just didn't grow for a long time. Once it started growing, it grew pretty well and has continued to. But that Vintage Lighter Matches group started around the same time that we started growing pretty good, and they've just gone. I think we've got about 1,300 in the Dependable Flame group right now, which is awesome. I love it. Thank you to all of you. But that Vintage Lighters and Matches, it may have 5,000-6,000 now. I know it's got. Last time I looked, it seemed like it was like well over 4,000 or so. But there's a lot. Tom O'Key knows a lot. He's got, I don't really know with a lot of those guys how many of those lighters they still have, or do they just still have the pictures, which doesn't really matter. I'm glad to see the pictures, whatever. But a lot of really old stuff that you'll see from Tom O'Key. And there's another guy, I think both of them are admins in that group, a guy named Carl McMullen, which a lot of, vintage stuff he seems to, but Tom O'Key he specializes in stuff like pre-Flint. And, it's like, had museum displays and stuff like that. He's got some videos on the OTLS YouTube channel. From several years ago of him giving demonstrations at lighter conventions and things like that. So, I was talking about the matches. So it was through that group, Vintage Lighters and Matches, that I was introduced to a group called something like the Wrath Camp Matchbook Lighter, or Matchbook Society, or something like that. Well, that's where I started seeing matches like that, and I was kind of intrigued because it's not just the advertising that's on the outside of the match, but printing of advertising and different things actually on the matches. So I thought that was really cool, and to get something like that for local advertising, here in Oklahoma City. I look forward to making more videos on that. That's the only brass Zippo I got right now, or bare brass. I had this one on there last time. It had some really bad corrosion on it, and we can't remember if I polished it on the live stream, but try to get some more out of it. But it's definitely got some pits. Some of it I don't think is going to come all the way out. But it was just a $5 lighter, and unless it's really new, to me anything 1980s or older, unless it's just in terrible shape and not even worth sending in to be repaired or something, then I think just about any Zippo 1980s, probably 1990s or older, is worth $5. And I was kind of curious how well we might be able to clean it up. So I think I need to get a couple more polishing wheels. I used the two I had pretty good, but I need to go over it again, try to get some of these more glaring spots, and then try to blend it all in as well as I can, and then maybe use it a little bit and just see how it kind of wears, and then maybe at that point list it. And hinge isn't terrible. It's about like that one on that 1956 or 57 was. It's funny to see after what my own experience looking up that Slim with the Cobra head, and then Jin Kim coming and explaining the 1956, 1957, and then our buddy Terry Lyons was on, posted a picture. He bought one last week, and I guess he bought it from Chuck Riley 66, and so then that led me over to Chuck's video, which Terry had pointed out, which I wasn't familiar with before, of brand new Cobra head Slim Zippo that Chuck had made, a video that he had made way back. It was like one of the first videos he had published on his channel, I believe. Anyway, it's always interesting to see the different perspectives, and it's also not always cut and dry when it comes to date something. I've seen people post these stamps in some of the Zippo groups on Facebook, and people say that they're fraudulent because they're just not familiar with these, whatever. Like I said, I think that's called a commemorative stamp. Does anybody have any lighter projects on their agenda today? Is Ozera, what's I should have kept that out here and taken a look, just in case. You never know, there may be somebody here in the stream who can help you out if I can't. Let's take a look at that. What the fuel screw on that lighter looks like. Hopefully I took pictures well enough that we got. This is going to be the fuel screw here. And I don't know if I really got any clear picture of that. That's just a picture from the side again. That's a little better. So now there is the possibility that even though that fuel screw looks different, it's on the side, that it may be the same. Have you done that kind of research, Ozera, to know what other what crossover there might have been for that screw? If not, I'll see if I can flesh that out later too. Maybe I can make that a whole video. I know I got several screws just laying around from Whirlwinds and probably some standards, maybe a Princess or Gem or two. The Zenith Viljami, are we talking about a pipe lighter? The first Zenith that I owned was a Petrol pipe lighter similar to the Craftsman that, okay, not a pipe lighter, alright. So is it a flip top lighter though? Flip top lighter made in Japan? What kind of details you got about it? Has it got any advertising or anything like that on it? I was talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder a while ago. Are any of the rest of y'all paying attention to the NBA playoffs? And if so, who's your team? Gold color automatic lighter. Okay. Cool. Baseball, huh, Professor? Who's your baseball team? I'm a big baseball fan. Baseball was really my first sport that I loved as a kid, at least watching it. Huge baseball fan, collected baseball cards, all that kind of stuff. Dodgers, yeah. You know, we got the Dodgers AAA Farm Club here in Oklahoma City. They've been called the Dodgers for, well, they were till last year, and then they changed it to the Oklahoma City Ball Club for 1 year, for one Oklahoma City Baseball Club year, because they were trying to rename it. So they renamed them the Comets after Mickey Mantle, the Commerce Comet from Oklahoma. So that's cool. And yeah, I was a huge fan, man. My summers in my youth were filled with not only playing baseball, but really even, I mean, I played baseball from the time I was 5 years old until probably 9th grade. But even past then, even in my earlier adulthood, I was a huge baseball fan. Really up until the steroids, that kind of took all the fun out of it. Barry Bonds and all that. But I'm also a huge Oklahoma fan. OU Sooners, all the sports, you know, football and basketball basically, but I'll root for anything OU. But once the Thunder got here, you know, we had the Hornets for a couple of years when they got displaced from Hurricane Katrina. Then there was an ownership group that bought the team that they couldn't get them to build the arena for up in Seattle. And it's been great having them here. But the AAA ball club, the baseball, like I said, which is AAA for the Dodgers now, they've been here forever. They're right here in Bricktown now. And like I said, they renamed them the Comets. But it was the 89ers when I was growing up. They were the Phillies AAA club for when I was really young, and then and before that they had been for the Astros and maybe, seems like maybe even St. Louis at one point, but then they were the AAA club for the Rangers for a long time. And then Nolan Ryan, once he bought, I don't know if it was when he took over, I think it was when he took over the control of the Rangers. He already owned a AAA club, so that pushed the Oklahoma City out. And it seemed like we were with Houston there for a few years. We were with Houston for a few years, and it's been, I don't know, the last 5 or so, maybe 10. With my favorite lighter is the Penguin Cygnus lighter, Viljami. As far as an actual, if you're asking about a style, but I can't really say that because I like so many. That's really the one I collect. But my favorite actual lighter, I don't know. We talked about this last time, it seems like. Let me go get the box of... I got a whole lot of lighters that I need to get out and get sold, but I've got a box of lighters there that is basically my personal collection, the ones that, well, some of those Cygnuses will get sold, no doubt, because I buy too many of them and then I just can't keep them all. So these are definitely some of my favorites, these Cygnus. This is a automatic version. That one is, oh, that one's actually not branded Cygnus. This is the newest one I have. Haven't really done, I need to leave that one out. I need to work on it. Get that mechanism really snap shut. It doesn't exactly pop open. Probably got a degraded flint in the tube. I'll leave that one out to make that a project. But these are some of my favorite. And that one, with it having so much wear, this one I'll probably always keep because I just don't know how much I could get out of it. It looks better here in this light than it really does in real life because there's so many scuffs, scratches, so much wear to the anodizing color on it. All the corners are worn, but a great lighter to fill up, take out and use. But if you're asking me what my absolute favorite lighter is, it's probably maybe I took it out of here. It's the one that my daughter and son-in-law gave me that has the man, I've got so many lighters that I don't have any idea where they're at. And like I said, so many others that I need to get listed and sold. Wait a second, let me see if I can find it. Anyway, apparently I don't have it right here to show you, Viljami, but it's that Crest Craft lighter with the emblem on it for Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. That would be my favorite lighter. My favorite style lighter, probably the Penguin Cygnus, but there's so many mechanisms. It really is hard to choose. It just so happens that that's the one I collect, but really, for me, I'm just a huge fan of Petrol lighters. And that's what this channel is all about, you know. Okay. I don't know how long I'd been knocked off there. Hopefully we're back. Hello, Nimrats. Glad to have you with us. Sorry I hadn't seen your... I'm just blabbing away over here while it's locked up. This is a lighter, though, that my son gave me. That one's pretty cool, too. So this whole box here is full of Cygnus lighters and then lighters with sentimental value, which is why I'm surprised that that Crestcraft lighter is not in here. But neither is the one. I've got an identical lighter to it that belonged to my dad. And that's why they're both so special. So anyway, I'll find them. Let me get back to the questions here, though. Professor says I miss my old minor league team. They changed states and went from red to blue. Viljami says cool. I'm assuming he was talking about the lighters. Nimrat says been soaking up tons of info from your channel lately. Lately started hyper fixating on Ronson lighters like the standard. I want one so bad, but it's a little hard to find a decent one. Yeah, if you're patient and you're willing to buy, I probably never said this, but if you really want to find good old lighters for affordable prices, you need to be creative in how you search for them. So, you know, say a Wells branded States lighter. If somebody identifies that as a Wells branded States lighter for the state of Oklahoma, then obviously you know what it is. But that's not the way that the vast majority of lighters get listed. They get listed in big groups. So let's say the best search term may be lighter lot. But you are going to get thousands and thousands of listings if you look at that search query across all categories, which is what you really need to do. So, you know, I'm really giving you kind of a tip there that, you know, could come to, if enough people pay attention to that, it could hurt people like me who buy lighters like that. But the thing is, there's so many thousands of listings, I don't even have time to look through them. I used to, but I got too much stuff going on right now. I just don't have time to keep an eye on listings like I used to, nor money to buy. So it would just be more out of interest than anything anyway. It'll happen if I get a phone call, but I don't think I'm supposed to allow. So I apologize. Whoever's calling me, please stop. Nimrat says, I'm going to have to keep my hand out here or something moving to make sure this isn't locking up on me. Nimrat says it's a real eye-opener, sadly, on craftsmanship these days being so lackluster. These old lighters are so beautiful, and I love the mechanical engineering. Simple and cool. Wish we got back to those roots. Yeah, and you know, you can. Just look at the Zorro, and that's another lighter I can't seem to find right at the moment. But just look at the Zorro lighter. Go and look at the videos on the channel for that Zorro lighter. Because nobody in America seems to be making lighters like that. But that is a well-crafted lighter, Petrol lighter, that you can go buy today. Maybe it's going to end up costing more now because of some tariffs. Maybe not. I guess in the news today they're saying there's a deal. I don't know if that affects this or not. But that is a terrific lighter. Definitely glad to own and use it. And thank you, Friedrich, for it. That was a really nice and appreciated gift. Yeah, and I hate that model number, Nimrats. But as I've mentioned before, I'm not superstitious. I don't think by using a lighter with that number on it, you're accepting the mark of the beast or anything like that. Nimrat says, most antique shops are closed in my area now, which sadly means you got to rely mainly on the internet. Yeah, and there's plenty of places to find lighters on the internet too. eBay is a great place to find stuff, but it's not the best place, especially if you want to get good deals. There's other places, so search around. There's plenty of other estate sale, online estate sale geared sites, so some better than others. And that's another word, I used to be able to keep an eye on those all the time. And nowadays, like I said, I've just got a lot going on. So, but, that's the way it goes. It does seem like there's a lot more competition than there was, say, 7, 8, 9 years ago for, just buying groups of unidentified lighters even. But especially, I guess I didn't realize, I didn't really think about it when I published the video of me looking through that rotating showcase. I think it was over at 10th and May, or 16th of May, around there, 13th, something like that. The co-op. And when I went back, the lighter was gone. But I didn't really think about that Beatty Jet. That seemed too much to me that day, $25. But I guess those pretty routinely, if they're in working condition, especially, are going for considerably more than that these days. I used to buy them for $35, $40. So when I saw that one at $25, that was, well, that's not true. I'm not saying you used to see them routinely sell for $35, $40, $45. I wasn't buying them for that. I've never really bought much, just single lighters that were identified. Most everything I've ever bought, that's not true. I bought plenty of single lighters, but most of the best stuff I've ever bought was in lots or collections on online estate sales, that kind of thing. Nimrats, what do you think of the model number? Does that number bother you? He says, I'm sorry, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure if I can. I'm not sure. You're male or female. But you say, I saw a decent pull and twist bottom type Ronson that looked in good condition. Don't know what age, though, if I can trust any leakage from the bottom. It is possible because there's a rubber seal there in those twist bottoms. And not only that, but the spring sometimes wears out on those twist bottoms. Let me get everything set down here. I was showing that a while ago. It may have been before you got on, but this one took a ding here. And basically the twist bottoms, I don't think came into account or came into existence until about 1953 or 1954. They may have been a little bit before that on the Whirlwind, but I don't think so. I think it was 53 or 54. But the Whirlwind Imperials, they had it. The Essex had that kind. It was a little bit different, but like I said, the Whirlwinds, the later Whirlwinds, had one that was similar to this kind. And then there's a different, was it the Windlight or Windlight 2? There's one of those, and that may have even been the wrong model name, I was just telling you. But one of them has one that has a O-ring where the whole thing just pops off. So I'm not as... For me, I prefer the old kind, just the fuel screw. And I like this one, and it never seemed to me to be a problem, but it has been. It seems like right there that rubber seal looks like it's even trying to come up out of there. So the fact that it got dented here may be kind of pinching that out. So I probably need to straighten that up. That might solve my problem. And it did, I mentioned earlier, already lose all its fuel, which I think we fueled it up here on the live stream. No, maybe I made a video. No, I think I fueled it up on the live stream and then made the video later about trimming the wick. You say your name's Joe? Cool. My name's Joe as well. Nimrats. My name is Joseph, my first name, named after my grandfather, whose name was simply Columbus. He didn't have a middle name. And but everybody called him Joe. Joe was his nickname. So that was my dad's father, and my mother and father named me Joseph. But I've been called Joe my whole life. But not my youngest grandson, my second youngest grandson, he's named after me as well. His name's Joseph. Hello, Azrael. Glad to have you with us. Hope things are going well, my friend. I know you have joined in, maybe not the last time. It hasn't been too long since we heard from you. I'm just sitting here sipping on a non-alcoholic wheat beer. Talking about some lighters that we might have for projects. And maybe firing up a dab straw here or there, off camera. Oh, absolutely, L. L. Arnold, glad to have you with us. Sorry I didn't acknowledge you when I just noticed you were there. Sorry about that. Yes, I have cut on wicks. There's no telling what I've done with asbestos wicks that I shouldn't have. I don't think the real danger is in using them. You probably shouldn't be cutting on them. You definitely don't want to be breathing in those fibers, but I think asbestos is in so many things that, I don't do it anymore, but I don't know. It's not something I spend any time worrying about either. I just quit doing it. How things going in Indonesia, Azrael? Is it a good time of the year? It's spring here in Oklahoma, so I'm fairly happy with it. What is hop water, Professor? No, Azrael. If you think beer is just bitter, you've never had a Hefeweizen. And even though this is a non-alcoholic beer, or this says Belgian white, not Hefeweizen, but it's a cloudy, I don't know if it's actually unfiltered. A lot of times they are, but drop a little lemon wedge or orange wedge. I think orange would have sugar as well. I opted for the lemon. But yeah, no, it's good. It's one of the things that for me as somebody who doesn't drink anymore, it's kind of awkward at times. I also don't drink caffeine or sugar, so I can't drink a soda. And so water it usually is. But when I recognize that some of these places around here, and even a lot of the local breweries have non-alcoholic beers, and Like we go to the farmer's market, the Anthem Brewery's up there, and they've got a Pilsner and an IPA that are non-alcoholic, and I've enjoyed both of them. So, yeah, as somebody who, I mean, honestly, an alcoholic who, I mean, I spent 17, 18 years of my life where, other than if I was like deathly ill from a sickness, I was drinking. And so, I mean, we're talking about a handful of times, just a literal handful of times over that, you know, almost 20-year period of time that I wasn't drinking. And I drank everything from whiskey to beer. I never really drank wine on a regular basis, but a few different whiskeys and a lot of different beers and different shots, and tequila here and there, maybe some other things, but mostly bourbons and beer. So, I know they make non-alcoholic like vodka, and maybe they make non-alcoholic bourbon. I don't really have a desire for that, but to be able to drink a cold beer that doesn't really have alcohol in it, yeah, it's nice. And especially in a social setting where other people are having something like that. And like I said, I don't drink sodas, or at least most sodas that are available to me don't fit what I need. They're not sugar-free or caffeine-free. You can find them in the store, but it's hard to find them out and about. Anyway. Yeah, I'm not complaining. I like it. And I've had several other non-alcoholic beers as well. They're good. Professor says, not 100% sure what hop water is, but I thought it was some sort of non-alcoholic beer. Well, it could be. They always talk about hops is one of the major ingredients in a lot of beers. So, yeah, maybe it is. I just hadn't heard of it. Nimrat says, random question. I'm sure you get it all the time, but is it truly a big deal to run specific Flints in an old Ronson? Do I need an old red, or is the Zippo one good enough? The best way I can explain that, Nimrat, is just your own personal trial and error. Right now, I'm for the last couple years or several years, I've been running pretty much everything that would on those generic eBay Flints. I think those were generic eBay Flints that my buddy Robert Hollingsworth Jr. sent. He sent me, I don't know, maybe been 500 of them. And like I said, I've run out. But he also sent me some Clipper Flints just last year. We used one deal of those. We've got another one around here. You hear people talk about the Ronson Fire Bronze. You hear about people talking about the Ronson Redskins. My buddy Robert Hollingsworth, who has sent me all these, I think he's the one that told me that he thinks that some of those old Ronson Flints have suffered from oxidation and actually hardened and damaged Ronson lighters. Then there are other people that swear by, especially lately, seen people swearing by the Ronson Fire Bronze, which I think are newer than the Ronson Redskins. I could be wrong though, I really don't know. So, but you can find generic Flints on both eBay and Amazon. You can, other than generic, like I said, there's new old stock. The one thing that seems very difficult to find right now are the new old stock Dunhill Blues. I swore by the Dunhill Blues, but the last package that I bought of them, they were not as good. These, oh no, that's a Clipper. That's the other Clipper. Can't remember whether that was the new one or the old one. Another used up. Okay, so there you can see these new Dunhill with such bright blue coating on them, they don't seem to be as superior product as the older ones that sort of had that duller blue. I don't know, it kind of looked like paint. But whatever it is. So like I said, it's kind of a trial and error. You know, some of the other guys in here might give you some other opinions. OLARP, anybody else that's here, feel free to chime in. But I think it's best to have a variety, because you're going to run into lighters that you're going to find that certain flints work better in and certain flints don't. I don't remember the last time I owned any Ronson branded flints. You know, sometimes you find them in lighters. Sometimes when you buy a group of lighters, you'll get some of those old holders that have them in them, still have good flints in them, and I've used them. I just hadn't acquired any like that lately. Have any of you heard that before? Like I mentioned about Robert saying that the Ronson flints have oxidized and will damage old lighters, will damage the flint wheel. You say giving up caffeine is rough. Caffeine hasn't really been an issue with me as far as giving it up. I don't know that it... I worked nights and overnights for so long and drank so much coffee, and I don't know if it ever benefited me. But I had an incident way back when my dad, we all thought he was still healthy anyway, before we really knew about the Huntington's disease and what ended up affecting him so adversely. But I had an incident where I was riding around the lake with him in a Jeep Grand Wagoneer. And, okay, I apologize. It keeps happening, guys. And as far as I know, it's not anybody I know. One was a spam risk. And my phone is right now telling me that do not disturb is on. So I apologize about that. When that happens, does it completely go out? Do you quit hearing me like as soon as the phone apparently quits or starts ringing? I don't even remember now what we were talking about. Oh, caffeine. Yeah, it hadn't been too difficult for me to give up. Yeah, I'd like to try Heineken as well. There's a few of them I'd like to try. Boulevard has a Hefeweizen, and I really like their regular wheat beer. That was sort of the wheat beer that first got me hooked on wheat beers. So I'd like to try their non-alcoholic. I saw it in one store, but I haven't, since I got ready to buy it, I hadn't actually seen it, so I need to locate it again. Sorry, Professor, glad to, hope I'm not missing you here too late. Glad that you've been with us, though. When you say Vespa, are you talking about the scooter, Azrael? Beer on nitro. What do you mean by that? Paranoid about the screen locking up now. It's strange because it usually rings through to my other devices and it's not. So I don't know. I think I may be on the verge of getting a new phone, maybe a new iPad. Anyway, they've both been causing me some trouble. So Nimrod, did I ask where you're located? You said you spent a couple of years in Germany. Was the first time you had beer on nitro. I'd also like to know what beer on nitro is. You're not just talking about like under pressure in a keg, are you? One of my watched a lot of movies with these two grandkids that I watch so much. And one of my favorite, which I can't hardly ever get my granddaughter to watch anymore, is called Luca. Any of y'all seen Luca? Well, they're trying to win a race so that they can buy a Vespa. But yeah, we got people that drive scooters around here, and yeah, I got to be honest with you, I would kind of like to have one. Be nice for us just to be able to. First of all, my Jeep went out on me last week. It's in the shop right now, waiting to hear from them. The engine locked up, so we'll see what happens there. Maybe having to buy a new vehicle, but to be able to have a scooter just to hop in and around places around here would be awesome. Since I haven't had access to that little Jeep Renegade the last week, thankfully my father-in-law loaned me his F-150, which I drove an F-150 for years and I loved it. But after driving that little Jeep and parking it around here, that F-150 is a nuisance to park. Not fun at all. Spent 10 years in the Army, Nimrat says, so I've been around here and there. Yeah, we got a lot of Tinker Air Force Base here, so we get a lot of Air Force people that, you know, aren't native to Oklahoma, but they end up sticking around here. Says I'm in California. I believe the nitro beer just meant the bubbles. Okay, yeah, I was kind of wondering what that's kind of what I thought he might mean. Yeah, so how do you like living in California, Nimrats? I usually check out who's on the Joe Rogan podcast, and if it's somebody interesting, or you know, a lot of times it's, you know, sometimes it's celebrities or actors or comedians, people you've heard of, and then other times somebody you never heard of, and you know, but they're involved in something that's very interesting. It doesn't matter that you never heard of them; it's still very interesting. Anyway, that's one thing from. It's not like I watch or listen to the whole thing every day, every time they publish one. But that's one thing about that podcast is you come away feeling like California is not a nice place to live. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, I guess that's a lot of places though. You know, the grass is always greener somewhere else, and sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Yeah, I can understand that, and I think that's, you know, cost of living here in Oklahoma is definitely on our side compared to places like California or New York or even Texas. Texas may have lack of state income tax may be appealing to some people, and it may actually benefit some people as opposed to others. I don't know. I'm not wise enough on those kind of issues to sort through all that, but you know, you're going to pay your taxes one way or another. But you know, I get it. There's you know, I guess there's a lot more regulation and sort of liberal government in California. Plus, everything's more expensive. Nimrat says, I love the mountains up north, never really go south of San Francisco. Grandparents live in the Sierra Mountain area near Gray Eagle, really pretty place. Okay, so you're not even talking about like Los Angeles or that part of it that most people complain about. Yeah, I don't know. That's one thing though. People, you find a lot of people that complain about where they live. Um, People that I grew up with, went to high school with, I see them on Facebook, and they bitch about Oklahoma all the time. And I think Oklahoma's a great place to live. I'm not complaining. Um, right now it's growing like crazy. I mean, there's housing and apartments and buildings, and I mean, it's crazy, especially for the way things looked there for a year or two around the pandemic, for construction and business and new retail, all that to be going in the way it is. Seems crazy, but it's still a good place to live. Traffic's worse than it used to be, but I like it. I mean, it's good. I got no real complaints about it. So Nimrats, have we talked about, you were talking about the Ronson lighters? Gotcha. I need to remember Ozera and look up those. If I can figure out what the parts are for the Ronson PAL. The Netherlands, huh? Is that Amsterdam? And I'm going to sound really ignorant here, and I'm not sure if Olarp is still with us, but is that where you live, Olarp, the Netherlands? I probably sound like a typical ignorant American. And I'll say something else about drinking the non-alcoholic beer, and I'll just leave that sitting there to prove it to you. Depending on how long we end up staying on here, I probably won't drink another one. But I have drank a couple of them. But the thing is, you're not in a race to drink them like you might be if you were trying to get a buzz. You're just enjoying the beer, just enjoying the beverage, the drink. So it really is a pleasant experience. I know it may seem stupid to some people, but it really is. I've kind of toyed around with the idea of maybe doing non-alcoholic beer reviews on the channel. Nimrat says, yeah, I got a few eyes on some standard and Princess models. Hopefully get one soon. Old vehicle, Azrael said, old vehicle is the old reliable. You can fix a Vespa yourself provided you know some mechanisms. Not the case with fuel injection motorcycles. Yeah. So it's they just got a carburetor on them, Azrael? Be like working on an old Honda or something? Worked on plenty of three-wheelers back in the day. Nimrat says, yes, Amsterdam is there. It's the popular tourist place, but the rest of it is a gorgeous place. I went to Amsterdam, but it was kind of a tourist trap. Dirty place, to be honest. Okay. It seems like most of the places you go for vacation seem kind of like dirty places to me. I've been called a germaphobe in my life, something that I think is related to my OCD and probably also to Tourette syndrome. Anybody seen anything really cool in the Facebook lighter groups lately? Also, keep in mind, any of you that might, excuse me, get over on the website, dependableflame.com/current eBay listings. All those listings are on eBay, but they're served through that page on our site, and those are affiliate links that you're clicking through. You click through those links to eBay. There's also affiliate links other places on the site that go to Amazon, but we earn a commission when you click through those links and then make a qualifying purchase. Your price isn't going to change, and you could even click through and not purchase my lighter, but purchase something else, and that's still, we may earn a commission. It's just the way that the whole system works. But there's what you call it, a disclaimer there on those pages. All that is spelled out as it should be. But that particular page where we list our lighters, which I'm trying to think, I just carried excuse me, 2 of them. Let me go get it, because I wanted to point out that one particular lighter. These are those other 2 lighters that I got listed last week, and I don't really want to touch this one a whole lot because the paint is still coming off of it, and I've taken the photos. But this is an authentic World War II era Dunhill service lighter. I'm not sure that it had ever actually been used, though you can see a good deal of the paint has worn off and has corroded a little bit of rust, looks like. But we fired that up. We pulled up the wick and trimmed it off, which is included in it. And I can't remember, I think I've got this listed for 30 or 40, $44.95, maybe $39.95. But I always listen, I'll always take offers. So keep in mind, I don't list anything in my store that I don't believe is worth $25. So I'm not taking less than $25 for anything. And I'm not even telling you that I would take $25 for this one. I'm just telling you, I'm not necessarily looking for the full price when you look at those listings. Feel free to make me a reasonable offer, especially if you're in the market for a World War II era Dunhill service lighter. That you can go check out the video and see that this lighter fires up. You can see how it's been treated. You can see where we cleared the old degraded flint from the tube. You can see where we cleared out the spare flint and wick compartment in the fuel screw, all of that. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. Also listed this one, excuse me, the video for this lighter, you're not going to see it lit up because it's still brand new. But anyway, it is a brand new advertising lighter. Has a new flint with it, and also the remnants of the flint that fell out of it. And we blew out that tube, so that tube should be clear. Should be able to install the new flint, fuel it up, and that lighter work. But anyway, that's the way that page on our site works. dependableflame.com/current eBay listings. As I mentioned earlier, those are affiliate links. When you click through there and make a qualifying purchase, then we will typically earn a commission. Let me get back to the chat. Nimrat says, it's probably a decent place to see stuff, but I pretty much disconnected from all the social media sites, no Instagram or Facebook, etc. Gotcha. Nimrat, you say you live in California. Excuse me. Do they still have a medical program in California? Is it all recreational now? And are you familiar with that? Do you participate in it? Is it something you are open to? I'm just curious. Just making conversation. Azrael says, yeah, old stuff only has carburetors, which is reliable in the event of solar storm. Okay, so tell me this, Azrael. Do they not make Vespas anymore? Are they all old? Tell me the benefits. And I'm just going to go ahead and warn you guys and let you know that I may have to go here in a minute, or I am going to have to go in a minute because I'm going to have to move the car. Got a 2-hour limit on the car out here in the parking spot, and I parked about an hour and 45 minutes ago. No telling how quick the parking people will come around, and there's days that you can get away with it, but I'm not going to test it because it's not my vehicle that I'm parked out there. It's a borrowed vehicle, so I'm going to have to move it. Nimrat says, yeah, sure, I partake. Yeah, it's totally fine now recreationally. Can pretty much have it ordered to your door like ordering a pizza. Do they still have a medical program too, or did that just swallow it up into one? I know in Washington State they've got both. The last time that we had rec on the ballot here, it got voted down. But when we legalized medical back in 2018, it won overwhelmingly. So at least we have the medical program. Well, I appreciate you guys joining us. Nimrat, Ozera, there was Golden Goalie, and somebody else new right back there at the beginning as well. But also the Professor and Bill Jami, Olar, Annie Rude was the other new one. But Nimrat, you have really carried the conversation here today, so I appreciate that. And I hope you have a good time in California. Hope you can join us next week. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm not sure. Have you been with us a while, or you just stumbled upon us today? Azrael, you say they don't make them anymore. Like everyone else, they modernized. They don't make old. Okay, I got you. So you're saying, though, the ones that appeal to you are the old ones. Well, have you thought about, do you actually have one? You ought to create a channel around that. That'd be a cool channel. I'd be interested in it. But Nimrat, yeah, glad to chat with you. Glad to chat with you, Azrael. And we'll keep trying it Mondays, Tuesdays. And then if we can't, we'll try it on a Monday or on a Friday. I got some doctor's appointments scheduled here and there, though. So I'm going to try to get a video out there every morning. We'll definitely have shorts midday. But I'll get all the published content I can out there. Try to make it good stuff. If you're not seeing stuff you care about, let me know. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see. Nimrat says, been consuming almost all the Ronson videos I can. No, not a whole lot of info out there, so it's nice to see hobbyists. Yeah. Ezreal said aerodynamics on the new Vespa design make it look ugly, in my opinion. Yeah, that happens sometimes. I felt like that way with the Mustang at various times throughout the year. The years seem like they ruined it. Well, I'm going to have to go out here and move the vehicle so I don't get a parking ticket on my father-in-law's F-150. But I appreciate you guys joining me. I'll get to work on creating some content and hopefully talk to all of you soon. Do I have something I can light up here? Until next time.